But we'll take that and move on to starting to preview this Colorado game coming up on Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be in Boulder, UCLA's first game in a while, the first UCLA game of any kind in a while. We're definitely looking forward to it. But we're going to talk about their passing game, and this goes along with a column that I wrote for Sports Pac-12, who Dash Sports TV has an agreement with. We write some columns. They go up on their site. They're linked on our site, dashsports.tv, so you can find them there as well. And Sports Pac-12 is on Twitter at Sports Pac-12. So the article that I wrote basically is just saying Colorado had a suspect pass defense last year, over 280 passing yards allowed per game, 10th in the Pac-12, and they're returning mostly the same guys, but a new coach who's defensive minded. He might be installing a new system. They have a new quarterback, a young quarterback, or at least inexperienced. He's a redshirt senior, but has never seen the field. So UCLA is a heavy favorite going up against a not so great secondary, and that is a perfect recipe for airing it out, giving DTR 40 attempts, seeing what he can do when the keys are in his hands, and it's all up to him. So, Jack, do you think that's the way UCLA should go with this game?
I absolutely do not think this is the way that UCLA should go with this game. UCLA and Chip Kelly especially have always been the best when they use their speed and when they use the short passes to get through a defense. DTR, he should improve in his third year, but he had a lot of interceptions last year, and he had a lot of fumbles when he was getting pressure in the pocket, and he either had to roll out and he fumbled it away, or he got sacked and gave up a fumble. I don't think having him hold on to the ball longer and trying to air it out is the best plan for him. We've seen that he is turnover prone, so why not use the advantage? He's a dual threat quarterback, put him on the ground a little bit more. You've got Demetric Felton there in the backfield. He was named the #1 running back on the depth chart earlier today. Use his speed, use his ability to catch the ball too. As a former wide receiver, do little dink and dunk passes the whole way down. I don't see how airing it out, especially in Boulder, is gonna work out for this team. I'm curious, Sam, do you think DTR has just all of a sudden become less turnover prone and less suspect to giving up interceptions on big throws?
Well, first of all, I don't mean you throw it 40 yards down the field. I just want to see him with really just controlling the game. I want to see the game on his shoulders, because just seeing him work in the offseason, looking at the history of UCLA quarterbacks, Pac-12 quarterbacks, Chip Kelly quarterbacks, and how they progress going from year 2 to year 3, I have confidence that he will get that touchdown interception ratio improved. It should be over 2 this year. I think it'll be solid. But I really think that this is because for Colorado, first year head coach Karl Dorrell used to be at UCLA, and their quarterback is his first time starting a game since high school. This is going to be the easiest game on their schedule. That means this is your time to take some risks. You're not going to be able to go into the USC game or Arizona State game or Oregon game and say, you know what, we're just going to give DTR 40 pass attempts and see what happens. You're not going to have the comfort to do that when you go into those very important games, whether it's on the road or at home against great opponents. Colorado is the weakest opponent on the schedule, and you kind of have to take advantage of that. You're risking that DTR does throw interceptions, but you want to see that upside. You want to see the growth from the offseason, and you want to test out his ability to carry the team in a game where maybe it doesn't matter as much, as opposed to waiting until later in the season and putting all the weight on his shoulders then.
Right. On paper, Colorado is the weakest opponent that UCLA is supposed to face this season. But I don't think that's the reason to risk it. I think that's the reason to probably play it safe. UCLA has always leaned on their strengths. Last year, they leaned on Josh Kelly a lot. Before that, they leaned on Josh Rosen in a passing offense. They leaned on Brett Hundley in a passing offense. DTR is not the same kind of passer as those guys. He doesn't need to go out there and throw 40 up to 50 times a game. Use his strengths. Use the guys around him. Chip Kelly has never really had a passing offense in almost his entire time. He's always relied on the run. I don't see why you should change that game plan just because the opponent's weaker. Chip Kelly really needs a win this time. He has not won his season opening game since he's been here at UCLA. He hasn't won, I don't think he's won his first 4 games both times in both seasons, unless the Washington State game was week 4 last.
That was week. Yeah, that was the 4th game last year.
Yeah, well, he hasn't won against a non-conference opponent. He's gone 0-3 to start both of the last 2 years. I think a solid win. You don't need to go out there and blow Colorado out. You don't need to. You need to get a win. You need to come out of Boulder alive. You need to come out injury-free. You need to come back to the Rose Bowl and try to get a win against Utah next week. That's the game where they need to start taking risks against a team that lost a lot of starters on defense, against a team that has a new quarterback. Not this Colorado team where you're going on the road on a Saturday, first game. You don't want to make a lot of mistakes, and you want to start the season off with a win. And I don't think by taking risks, that's a good way.
This is the time to take a risk, though, because you have to see. You asked me, do I think that DTR can be a high volume passer who doesn't turn the ball over? I would like to think so. I bet Chip Kelly would like to think so. But the only way to find out is by putting him in a situation where he has to prove that in a game. And you don't want him proving that week 6 with a division title on the line against USC or against Arizona State or on the road at Oregon. You want him to show you who he is as early as possible so you know what you have in your quarterback and your offense moving forward for the entire season.